Hello there, Mr. Chamberlain here. I'm in my workshop and I'm going to go over a little bit about how to test relays and solenoids and how it's kind of wired. I've got a little demo here for you. You're supposed to be doing this in the shop, but I set it up here real quick because I've got short notice. And let's see if you guys can follow what I want you to do. So the first thing is we're going to go and do a little bit of resistance. We'll do a little examination of the circuit and the components. I'll talk about those real quick. And pay attention, grab your notebooks. Okay, so when I get going here, you're going to need a notebook. So you might want to pause the video for right now. Get set up. You're going to need a notebook, a pen. If you have any regular white paper, even line paper will work. You might want to draw the diagram with me as I go over it. We talked about it some. You saw a little bit about it the other day. This is going to be a starter circuit. So we're going to do it as a simple switch first, and then we're going to move on to a key switch. And I'll show you how that works. So here we go. All right, so what I have is I've labeled a bus bar here. Okay, so you understand that I have a power supply. It's coming off a battery. I have a ground here. I have a jumper wire, so I have another power supply. And the reason you need that is because over here, the relay, remember the relay needs a power supply to go to the load device. Okay, and the other power supply has to be for the pull-in coil. So we have the pull-in coil has power supply, and also the power supply has to feed the load device. So if we look on the back of the relay here, if I can zoom in here a little bit, and you guys can see down the wires, you can see 30, 86, 85, and 87. And I left 87A out because 87 is the park position, right? So that's where it is right now. Now, when I energize it, I should put voltage on 85 and have a ground on 86, and then 30 and 87 should allow power to go out. And they're going to go over here and they're going to energize the solenoid. So we should hear a loud click out of the solenoid on the starter I have on the bench. I have a ground hooked up to it, so I should hear that solenoid click. So I'm going to get this set up, and then you guys can watch what happens. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a regular switch. So this is going to be a regular switch, and that switch, as you see, goes into the relay. Now that also goes to the power supply. So I have a jumper here. So the switch has a power supply. I have from the power supply, I have its own breaker. All right, and then I have the ground, which is going to go to the relay, and I have a ground that goes back to the battery underneath my bench here. All right. So let me get this set up and then we'll see what happens. All right, here we are. Got my meter ready in case things don't work out. And I have my ground here. I have my power supply in. I have a fuse that's going over to the relay. And my other power supply is supplying power to the switch. So this power supply is fused to the switch. The relay has a fuse its own separate. So you have two separate circuits. One's feeding the relay and the other one's feeding the switch. Sometimes they're sharing the same circuit like this. So let's see what happens. I have the ground hooked up. I have the relay hooked up. The relay's hooked up to the starter. We should hear a click. That's the output wire coming out of this. And let's see what happens when I turn the switch on. Well, that's not very good. All right, so the switch obviously is not working, or the relay's not working, or there's no power, or there's ground, or something. So here's your first question. So get your notebook out and tell me what you would test first. All right, so the first thing you would test, pause the video for a second. So let's see if you got it right. Okay, when you're ready, here we go. So what I'm going to do is first I want to make sure I have power at this connection. And my multimeter, so I move it into position, says yes, I have 12.72 volts. So I have power here, I have power here, okay? And let's go from here to the switch. So the inlet side of the switch, I have power here, and then let's see what happens. I'm going to leave this on my ground if I can. There we go. So I have power into my switch, and let's see if I have power coming out of my switch. And I do. I have power that comes in and out of the switch. Okay. So it's not on the switch side unless it goes all the way over to the relay. So then we'll follow that wire to the relay, which is right here. That's this terminal. So if I follow this wire, it comes around and it goes into the relay. So let's turn the switch back on. And we'll see, do I have power at the relay? Yes, I do. I do have power there. Okay. So I have voltage into the switch, out of the switch, into the relay. The relay is not doing anything. What do we do next? Let's see. All right, write your answer down now for what the next test you would do, because we think that we have power into the switch and out of the switch. So pause the video, think about it, and what would you test next? Don't cheat. Pause the video and write your answer. Okay, let's start again. So here we go. So let's do a voltage drop test. Let's see if we have voltage drop. So let's do that. So we're going to go to our good known power supply. If I can clip this on here and keep it on here, I'll be really happy. Come on. I may end up having to fix this. I was hoping to do it in one shot. All right, let's see. We got a ground. Yes, we have a ground. All right, so let's do a voltage drop test. So voltage goes out and it goes into the switch, and I have power on this leg. And if I throw the switch on, then I should have no voltage drop here. So there's 0. If I throw the switch off, it's an open circuit. It's going to read about 0 volts because I've got nothing. Okay. I'm going to make sure that I have the switch on again. And yes, and yes. So the switch is on. The switch is in the on position. So I'm going to go back again. And I want to do a voltage drop test. And remember, the voltage drop test is from power to the power side. So B plus to B plus. Doesn't matter. This is a jumper. There's no voltage drop there. There's no voltage drop here. There's no voltage drop here. And on this leg, up there's maybe 0.02 of a volt through the switch. That's acceptable. No more than 0.2. 0.2 is not acceptable. Over 0.2 is too much. Now I'm going to come out. I'm going to go into my relay. I'm going to see if I have voltage drop in my relay. Nope, I have no voltage drop in my relay. Now, let's see if the ground's open. So 85, I have 85 here. I'm going to go to ground. If the ground is open or has high resistance, then I will have power here and I won't read a ground, but I don't. Okay. Now, we go to the second circuit. So here's the second circuit. We know we have a ground. The ground is okay. So let's make sure the ground at the relay is okay. So let's roll around this wire, and that wire goes into the relay over here on terminal 86. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to power. And I'm going to test. If I don't keep my clip on here, it's one thing I didn't think about was holding that on there. And I'm going to check and see. And yes, I have a good ground at my relay. Okay. So switch, power out to the relay. There's a ground.